The series begins with the election of Kennedy. And this is the period where he's actually come into the Oval Office before he actually takes possession. So we're in, I would say, the bare bones of Eisenhower's office. Everything has been swept away that is personal. His staff would have packed away everything. So what's left is maybe the pieces of furniture and the paintings that would have been part of his administration. Once Kennedy takes over, then he would also bring his own personal stuff.
Every presidency, when they take office here, would go through a gradual and partial transformation to personalize the space. Under the Kennedy administration, it represents a very significant moment of advancement in the history of the White House. President Kennedy really felt that this office should be the place where all kinds of work happened, where he could receive anybody and do anything. He felt that that work should be as transparent as possible. So it was the first presidency where journalistically all kinds of media were embedded in his daily activities. And so it's fascinating to see how well recorded his working life was in here.
In order to do the Oval Office, we had to piece together various images where you can actually then take almost like our own virtual tour of like the whole 360 degrees of the Oval Office. It was important to get it right, partly because I guess you need to get to the truth as much as you can. I don't think you want to fake it too much. I think you want to get the flavor of what the times were, or what the environments were, and also if you provide a truer background to the actors, then it'll give you a truer reality of what their interpretation of the characters are.
What's interesting is, parallel to Jack being here, was Jackie's desire to revamp the White House, to make it a repository for all the best physical and artistic things that America had to offer. Make it an ongoing historic site where every family that comes in can contribute and comment on some aspect of American history. So what we have here is Jack and Jackie's refurnishing of the Eisenhower era room. So the curtains and the carpet, for the most part, were left over from Eisenhower. The desk and all kinds of pieces around the room became Jack's contributions. With John Kennedy, every decision was a meaningful one. It had meaning on a symbolic or on a day-to-day level. He was the second president ever to bring in the desk that was made from the wreck of the Resolute. And so this is known as the Resolute Desk. Being a guy who had been brought up on the ocean and with an affinity for the seaside, this symbolically was meaningful to him. A $12,000 US desk. I didn't buy it. We managed to rent it because it existed in a prop house in Hollywood. And it's a faithful reproduction. It's very good. Similarly, these chairs, which are the chairs that he brought from his alma mater in Harvard. He also introduced these facing parallel couches. Unlike past presidents who would just, take the formal chairs that usually occupied the periphery of the room, what he wanted to do was to say, you know what? I'm going to get the people I need to talk to with me. I'm going to work out what we need to in this room.
I've seen photos where you have like 5 generals, like crammed together in this, on this sofa. This is so ad hoc in a certain way, but it's so informal and it's so of the moment. In other words, let's have the meeting now and let's have it here.
Then, of course, there was the rocking chair. It was brought in as a comfortable, relief-giving chair for a president who had a chronically bad back. Since that presidency, the rocking chair has become one of the iconic fixtures in the Oval Office. All of the artwork that you see here on the walls, for the most part, was manufactured by us. They are approximate facsimiles to paintings that we weren't able to get full rights reproduction. And that's one of the legal issues when you're dealing with artworks that belong in important collections. All of the property on John's desk is faithfully and carefully reproduced, from recorded, archival visual, and written information. The telephone is, a Bell multi-line phone set that was pretty well a dead ringer for what they used in the White House at the time, as is the coconut and his medallion, his gift from the French government in terms of his blotter and his pen set with the inkwells, and all these other things, his pocket congressional directory, his seal burnisher. Then there is his globe light, which is a feature of his early term. It's not an exact reproduction, but it's pretty close. We're in the office of Mrs. Lincoln, who was the president's personal secretary. Someone who really looked after all of the minute details, a lot of the mundane things, when the family calls, as well as trying to plan and maintain his schedule. You'll notice all the pictures on the wall. Where possible, we've taken pains to photograph and recreate images that were here on the wall. So I want to draw your attention to a portrait that was taken that we matched with the real John Kennedy portrait, with our actor, with Greg Kinnear. And then, the composition on the wall resembles the composition of other images of important moments in the recent history of the White House. We certainly tried our best to be as faithful to all the details, from decor to the architecture. It's important to understand the space that you're working in. And I do believe it makes a difference in terms of presenting the most accurate and believable use of the space.